Have you ever wondered? Lesson when I was bent over in the garage reaching for a toy when he walked in. Jordan, our new black nanny, 11 years younger, and the way he looked at me made me forget I was someone's wife. "Are you cold?" He asked just 4 words, but they were the start of everything. You won't believe what happened next. Stay with me. And if you've ever kept a secret too heavy to say out loud, hit like and subscribe, because some moments aren't meant to happen. If you're ready to claim your silent confidence, hit like, subscribe, and comment claim my space below. Let's continue this journey together. Now, let's begin. But they do. I never planned to hire a male nanny, especially not someone like him. It had been one of those weeks. Mark was gone again on another long work trip in Alaska. The kids were bouncing off the walls, the laundry piled up like it had a life of its own. I barely had time to breathe, let alone think I remember standing in the kitchen, hair in a bun, coffee half cold, when my neighbour Beth stopped by. "You look like you're drowning," she said, gently handing me a business card. "He's a miracle worker. My boys adore him." I looked down at the name Jordan Hayes, family care professional. I rolled my eyes at the title. Sounded more like a life coach than a nanny. But I kept the card 2 days later. He knocked on my door. I opened it, expecting, I don't know, someone older, softer, a grandfatherly type. But there he stood, tall, broad-shouldered, warm, brown skin, a calm confidence that filled the space before he even said a word. He smiled, not the flirty kind, but the kind that disarms you, the kind that says, "You're safe here." The kids instantly warmed up to him. Lily wrapped herself around his leg, like they'd known each other for years. Tyler showed him his collection of plastic dinosaurs. And I just stood there. I hired him on the spot. Out of desperation, sure. But also because there was something about him that felt steady, trustworthy, like he'd seen chaos before and knew how to carry it over. The next few weeks, Jordan became part of the rhythm of our home. He wasn't just helpful, he was present. He didn't scroll his phone or count down the hours he was on the floor building. Lego castles he sang lullaby. He cut vegetables into stars so Lily would eat them. I caught myself smiling when I heard his voice down the hall, laughing at his silly stories, looking forward to our small morning chats while he packed school lunches. There was nothing inappropriate, nothing said, nothing done, but that didn't mean nothing was happening. Not yet. It started with the little things, the way Jordan would hum while chopping vegetables, the way he knelt to tie Lily's shoes, patient, gentle, like nothing in the world mattered, except that moment, the way he said, "Good morning, Miss Emily," with a teasing lilt that made my stomach flutter, even though I told myself it was nothing, but it didn't feel like nothing. One morning, I came downstairs in a rush, hair still wet, blouse half tucked. Trying to get to a Zoom meeting, Jordan was in the kitchen helping Tyler pour cereal. "Rough morning?" he asked, glancing up. "You have no idea," I sighed, grabbing a coffee. Then he said something simple, something harmless. "You look good in blue." I froze, not because of the words, but because of how he said them. Like it was a fact, not a compliment. Like it had just slipped out before he could stop it, and that made it feel real. I brushed it off with a laugh, pretending not to hear the way my pulse picked up. I told myself he was just being polite friendly, that I was imagining things. But the truth, I had started to notice him. Really notice him, the curve of his jaw, the way his eyes crinkled when Lily made him laugh. How he'd roll up his sleeves in the afternoon and wipe sweat from his brow after chasing the kids in the yard. And then came the moment in the laundry room. I was sorting clothes, half distracted when Jordan walked in, holding a basket of towels. "Need help?" he asked. "No, I'm good," I said. Barely glancing up, but as he stepped past me to put the towels down, his hand brushed my lower back. Barely there, but enough to make me freeze. We didn't say anything. He didn't apologize, I didn't pull away. The silence hung heavy too long. Then, without looking back, he turned and walked out. And I stood there staring at the socks in my hand like they were something sacred. Heart pounding, breath shallow that night after the kids had gone to bed. I lay awake next to Mark, his snoring soft, steady, familiar. But all I could think about was a man who hadn't meant to touch me, but had, and the worst part, I didn't want to forget it. It was Lily's birthday, balloons, cupcakes, glitter, everywhere. Parents came and went, kids ran wild. Jordan handled it all, like he'd done it 100 times before. Calm, capable, smiling. By the end of the night, the house looked like a war zone. The kids had finally crashed upstairs and I was kneading frosting and crumpled gift wrap. Jordan was wiping the counters when I handed him a glass of lemonade. "You didn't have to stay this late," I said. He smiled soft. "Didn't want to leave you with all this." We sat at the kitchen table for the first time alone. No noise, no tiny voices, just us. The silence was strange, but not awkward. It felt like we'd both been waiting for a moment like this, though neither of us would ever admit it. "You're amazing with them," I said quietly. "They love you, they make it easy," he replied, then added, "You've done a good job, Emily." Something in his voice made me pause. It wasn't just polite, it was warm, genuine, and I felt it in my chest, in my hands, in the way my knees brushed his under the table. Our eyes met and held. I looked away first. Some days I feel like I'm just surviving. I admitted he didn't answer right away, just looked at me, really looked like he could see past the layers. "I didn't show anyone else you don't have to do everything alone," he said, and for a second I believed him. My fingers tightened around the glass. My breath caught the kind of breath you hold when something real is about to happen, but it didn't. He stood up, suddenly breaking the moment. "I should get going," he said, voice low. I nodded, pretending not to feel the disappointment bloom inside me. "Thanks again," I said. Rising to see him out, he paused at the door. "Happy birthday to Lily." Then, after a beat and good night, Emily. My name sounded different when he said it, like it meant something the next morning. Everything felt louder, the sound of cereal hitting bowls, the hum of the dishwasher. Even the kids' laughter, bright and chaotic, felt too sharp. Maybe because my own thoughts were deafening. Mark was still gone. Jordan had arrived like always on time, calm, smiling at the kids. But when our eyes met over the breakfast counter, something shifted. He didn't say anything. Neither did I, but we both paused a heartbeat too long, before turning away later while the kids were watching cartoons in the living room. I started gathering up leftover decorations from Lily's birthday. Jordan walked in barefoot, holding a half-deflated balloon in one hand. "Need help?" he asked. I nodded, kneeling near the cabinet to pull out a storage bin. He squatted beside me, close enough that our shoulders nearly touched. "You okay?" he said quietly, not looking at me. I nodded again, this time slower. "Just tired?" He didn't respond right away. Instead, he reached into the cabinet for a roll of tape, and in doing so, his hand brushed mine. We both froze. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. I looked at him, and this time he was already looking at me. Not just a glance, a full, searching gaze, like he was trying to ask me something without words. Slowly, he lifted his hand, hesitated, then used his thumb to wipe something off my cheek. Frosting. Maybe I didn't even realize it was there. His touch was gentle too. Gentle, the kind that lingers. "Sorry," he murmured, but he didn't move back, and neither did I. The space between us was gone. His knee against mine. His hand still too close to my face. His breath steady, but shallow. My heart was pounding. My hands were trembling. Not from fear, from wanting his eyes dropped just for a second to my lips. Then a knock on the door shattered everything. We both jerked back. "I'll get it," he said quickly, standing up. Voice tight. I didn't move. I just stared at the floor chest, heaving. Whatever that was, it almost wasn't a mistake, and that scared me more than anything. The kids had gone to bed hours ago. The house was dark, save for the soft amber lights leaking from the kitchen window. Outside, the night air was cooler than usual, crisp enough to make you pull a blanket tighter around your shoulders. I stepped out onto the back porch, holding a cup of tea chamomile. Though I knew sleep would never come easy tonight, I wrapped myself in a thin throw and sat on the wooden bench, letting the silence settle. That's when I heard the door behind me open. Couldn't sleep either. Jordan's voice was low, warm, and too close. I didn't turn around right away, too much on my mind. He stepped out, holding a second mug. Wordless, he offered it to me. Our fingers touched as I took it. Brief electric. "Thanks," I said quietly. He didn't sit beside me. Not at first. He sat one step below on the edge of the deck, facing out toward the yard. "It's peaceful out here," he said. "Yeah," I whispered, "dangerously peaceful." He chuckled, but it faded quickly. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It pulsed. I could feel his presence without looking. The way his body leaned slightly toward mine. The way his knee brushed my foot. Once, then didn't move. I sipped the tea. My hands were trembling. "I'm not sure this is smart," I said softly. What he asked, though. I knew he already understood this. I replied, "Whatever this is." He turned slowly, resting one arm on the step behind me, his body now fully angled toward mine. "I've been trying not to cross that line," he said, voice like velvet over gravel. Every day I looked down, unable to meet his eyes, but tonight, he added, "Feels like that line's already fading." I didn't stop him when he reached for. The edge of my blanket didn't flinch when his fingers grazed my arm as he adjusted it over my shoulder. Slowly, like he wasn't sure if I'd pull away, I didn't. His hand stayed there, not heavy, not insistent. Just there, our eyes met. I saw the question in his gaze, the permission, and I didn't look away. Not this time. He leaned in slow, deliberate, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath, taste the mint from his tea. But then a dog barked in the distance. A porch light flicked on next door, and we both froze. His forehead rested briefly against mine. Then he exhaled long, controlled, and pulled back. "We should go inside," he said. His voice was gentle but firm. I nodded. Not because I wanted to stop, but because I had to. We stood carefully, awkwardly, like waking from a dream. Neither of us had dared finish as we stepped back inside. The house felt different. Not because of what had happened, but because of what almost had. The next morning, it was like nothing had happened, except everything had Jordan arrived at 9 a.m. Sharp, just like always. He smiled at the kids, helped Lily with her socks, tossed a ball to Tyler without missing a beat. He didn't look at me. Not once. I didn't look at him either. Not really, but I felt him everywhere. The kitchen felt smaller, the hallway tighter, every room he walked into. I was already aware of him before he spoke. We were polite, professional, smiling for the kids, but the space between us pulsed. At one point, I reached into the fridge for milk just as he opened the cabinet above me for cereal. Our arms brushed, we both froze. My breath caught then, like nothing. We pulled back and continued, as if we hadn't just been struck by lightning. Later, I found myself staring out the window, tea in hand while the kids played outside. He was pushing Lily on the swing, laughing, and for a second, just 1 second, I wanted to rewind time or fast forward anything, but stay in this unbearable middle when he brought them back in. I stood by the sink, pretending to rinse a cup that didn't need rinsing. He stood a few feet away, helping Tyler untie a stubborn shoelace. I could feel his presence like a current across my skin. He glanced up once, just once, and our eyes locked for half a second too long. Then it was gone. "Do you need me to stay late today?" he asked, voice calm. "Careful." "No, I've got it," I replied. "Thank you." We both knew that wasn't what we were really talking about. When he left that afternoon, he gave Lily a high five, ruffled Tyler's hair and said goodbye to me from across the room. No wave, no smile, just a quiet nod. I nodded back. Then he was gone, and the house, though full of noise, felt empty. A few days passed. Jordan still came by, still smiled at the kids, still carried himself with that calm steadiness I once mistook for simple kindness. But something between us had gone, still, not cold, not gone, just held back, careful, the kind of quiet that happens when two people know exactly what they feel, but decide not to say it. I caught myself watching him more than I should, and when he caught me, he didn't smile anymore, he just looked. Knowing Mark came home. Friday night, he hugged the kids, kissed me quickly, told the same tired work stories. As always, he didn't notice anything had changed, but I had that night as I lay in bed beside him, my eyes wide open in the dark. I thought about a line I never crossed, but still lost something to knot my marriage, but maybe a part of myself I thought was long gone, the part that still wanted to be seen. Jordan never touched me, not really, but I felt him more than anyone had touched me in years, and that might be worse. On Monday morning, I handed him a check for the week. Like usual, he took at fingers brushing mine, the barest hint of something unsaid hanging between us. "You're good with them," I said quietly. "They're good kids," he replied. I nodded. Neither of us said goodbye. He walked out the door, and I stood there still holding the space he had just left that night. I made dinner, I laughed with the kids, I poured wine. I looked across the table at my husband and wondered if he even noticed the way my eyes had changed. Somewhere inside me, I knew nothing would ever happen with Jordan, but the truth. Something already had. Maybe that's the real danger, not in what you do, but in what you almost do. And never forget, have you ever had a moment that changed nothing, and yet changed everything, a glance, a breath, a silence that said too much? Tell me in the comments if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Philosophy of Stoicism for more real, relatable advice on navigating the complexities of love and relationships. Remember, relationships take time, care, and effort, but the rewards are worth it. When fear and caution are met with understanding and patience, they transform into trust and connection. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.